Today we've got a great Pokemon-based revenge story. We'll get into that in a bit, but first, boyfriend versus a bag of salty licorice. This is a really silly story that I just remembered, and I thought maybe people here would think it's funny. This story includes my now ex-boyfriend, though we are still close friends. One morning he woke up before I did, and for some reason he was incredibly grumpy. Happens to the best of us, and I'm not bothered by it because it's just him getting annoyed over really silly things, and we always laugh about it later. On this particular morning, he spotted some food on the counter that I hadn't touched in a while. This included a bag of double salty licorice. If you're a Dutch person, you know exactly what I'm talking about. For non-Dutch people, think of the saltiest licorice ever, to the point where you feel your cheeks tensing up. It's an acquired taste, but I like it. Now, I've been with this man for 3 years, and not once in that time did he voluntarily eat any type of licorice. If he bought a bag of candy that has any licorice in it, he would give it to me. He even has these lemon ice creams that he loves, which are on a stick of licorice rather than wood. He always gives those to me. He has never liked licorice, and especially not the really salty ones. He even said that to me on numerous occasions. He definitely does not like licorice. Yet, for some reason, this particular morning, he decided that he wanted the bag of salty licorice, and pretty much demanded it. I said no, knowing he doesn't like it and also because it's mine, and he got really annoyed at me. I told him he doesn't like salty licorice, so I'm not giving it to him. He claimed that he loves licorice and refused to give in. I still said no and he went to work. I had to hold in my laughter the whole time. Naturally, I went to the store and bought the biggest bag of the saltiest licorice I could find, which was not cheap, but totally worth it. When he got back home, I told him I had a present for him, and I, of course, gave him the bag of licorice. He pretended to be happy with it and continued to say he loves salty licorice until I give him that look and told him to stop being stubborn, because I know he doesn't like it. He eventually admitted that he indeed doesn't like it. I jokingly said that he had to eat the whole bag now since he'd been so stubborn about it all day. My ex-boyfriend agreed, and so I spent the rest of the day reminding him to be grateful for my gift, and he gave me a guilty look every time I brought it up, like I'd just caught him doing something. Halfway through the bag, he had to give up. Just to clarify, it was all in good fun, and after he finally admitted that he doesn't like salty licorice, we both laughed every time I made him eat some. I do still occasionally bring it up to tease him, of course. He hasn't made any more claims about liking something he doesn't like since then. I feel like most people can kind of relate to just waking up in a weird or grumpy or just off mood. You ever just have those mornings where you wake up and you decide, I am going to argue on any point for no reason? You know, you wake up one day and you're just in that mood to try to become a debate club grand champion or something. Eagle Pancake wrote, I was once on a business trip to Norway and saw that salty licorice everywhere, but I didn't realize it was salty. I thought it was covered in sugar, so I got some of it and absolutely hated it. But I couldn't just throw it away, so I told all of my coworkers that it was delicious and amazing to get them all to try it. That was a funny morning. OP responded saying, that sounds hilarious. It's funny how no one except people who grew up with these seem to like it, while us Dutch people are like, yes, super salty licorice is totally great. Your coworkers must have felt so betrayed. Also, hi, I'm Steven, and if you guys enjoy awesome stories of revenge, it would be amazing if you left a like or left a review if you're listening to my podcast. That said, our next story is, serial abuser will hopefully be homeless soon. My senior year of high school, my younger brother ended things. This and other events caused me to spiral. Drugs, 5 years. But nowadays, it's going on 4 years since I've used. Most of my 20s were dark and lonesome though. My family didn't want anything to do with me after a while because it hurt them to witness. There's been a lot of healing in that regard, and I'm finally on good terms with them again. After I got clean, about a year or so in, I took a try at online dating. I was quickly hit with a dose of reality. Women didn't find me attractive. I was still a little overweight. I had one date and the woman never spoke to me again. I even went online to look up some advice, too embarrassed to tell anyone about it in real life. That was when I learned even guys that are way more accomplished in life and have model looks, they also don't get nearly any attention online either. My confidence wasn't strong enough to handle repeated blows to my ego, so I knew I was better off deleting Bumble, continue making strides in my sobriety, and most of all, lose a few pounds. And with some luck, I was able to get a physically demanding, better paying job to counteract my concerns about being sedentary. Picked up walking around the local park in my neighborhood. Then the unexpected thing happened, and I started dating a coworker at my new job. That's when a friend of my girlfriend alerted us to a post she came across. It had screenshots of my old Bumble profile. The pictures, the bio, private info, my first, middle, last name, full birthday, my cell phone number, my home address, and last but not least, the address and phone number to the job I used to have, with a caption that said something to the effect of me unmatching her on Bumble before she could get a chance to message me. But she took the time to screenshot my profile before even trying to reach out, I guess? And then further claimed she had learned from a friend of hers that knew me personally I am married, and my wife had to leave the state to be safe from me. That post was from almost 2 years ago, and again, if it's not obvious, I have never married, and it really embarrassed me because I was so far from ever being husband material throughout my 20s. And I'm still working on myself to be potentially a great long-term partner to my girlfriend. And for this woman to claim that I was somehow already at that stage of life, that I had a marriage, was able to afford it, and then violently destroyed it, it was violating. My girlfriend's friend even shared with us screenshots of the comments that were under it, and that part was devastating because not one person asked her to prove any of it. Not one person asked her to consider the harm it could cause by putting all my address information online to strangers. Not one person called out the obvious, that she was retaliating over a perceived rejection. Also, I don't even remember her face. I'm 100% confident she never matched with me on Bumble. I got so few matches back then. But the comment section did agree on one thing, that men who look like me are secretly gay, and that's why they beat women. I cried about this for days. I couldn't fathom that this group on Facebook was all women my age and older and behaving like the same kind of attitudes of middle school children who taunted my younger brother so much that he did what he did. There's not a day that goes by that I don't think about my little brother. But never has it been because I was on the receiving end of what my brother went through, and it made me so fired up. I just kept thinking to myself, they got away with bullying my brother, and I can't let them keep getting away with it. So my girlfriend and I agreed we'd do something. My girlfriend had already been using a fake Facebook account to follow this woman's Facebook account. And sadly, like most people, this woman is addicted to social media. She posts a new picture of herself every day, oftentimes the same picture with different filters, which is a level of depressing I can't describe. But it made me feel sorry for her in a way. She literally posts everything, including a list of several other people she's done this to. That part really highlighted the urgency to act in both me and my girlfriend, because it wasn't just a one and done for her. I wasn't the first. She has doxed at least 5 people and one is a woman. The reason she went after a woman is because apparently she's in an open relationship with one of the guys that rejected her. There's varying different levels of encounters she's had with, some she's met, but it's hard to believe if any of what she put was true because she completely made up crap about me. Now, I'm assuming she must use some crowdsourcing from other members, but as far as the private phone number and address and full names, I think she uses one of those Spokio-type websites. I have an arrest on my record for trespassing and drug paraphernalia. If she was intent on sharing accurate information to others, I question why she couldn't just bring up that factual arrest record. My girlfriend and I didn't need any more speculation. It was clear that this was an ill and predatory lizard parading around as a feminist vigilante. It was only by sheer luck that I moved jobs around the time of this posting. Plus, combined with my girlfriend and I aren't on any social media, we only have the fake Facebook account we used for this occasion, because if we were, the lizard would have been harassing us directly. So my girlfriend and I used her Facebook activity against her. First of all, she posted where she works, a daycare ran by a church. She always posts when she's at home, when she's going to work. So we went up to the daycare when she was at home. We printed out screenshots of all the men and women she's non-consensually sharing photos and addresses of. We included the posts where she's egging other women to review bomb the places they work. We spoke with the director of the daycare, and we were surprisingly well received. And we were all able to figure out that much of her time at work is spent on Facebook, and that includes when she's doxing people. 2 weeks ago, I got an email from the director. He explained that they fired her on grounds of harassment in the workplace. We still use our Facebook account to monitor her. She's just created a GoFundMe to help pay her rent. But my girlfriend and I are going to see to it that it's shut down for harassment and fraud. She's done this to so many people, I have no doubt she'll never figure out which one of us finally came after her. Well, some couples have some hobbies they like to do together. Some like to go on walks together. A lot of couples have their go-to TV show to watch together. OP and their partner have the secret Facebook account to stalk this person and try to stop them in their tracks. Last Friend 6350 wrote, "More than anything here, I am so glad that she didn't cause you to relapse under the stress and humiliation she caused you. Lots of people may have, particularly if they were in a more vulnerable situation. I'm so dang proud of you for refusing to be bullied by people like this that wouldn't know a fact check if it bit them on the butt." Percy I. wrote, "I'm also proud of his girlfriend and her friend for talking about this openly and not jumping to any conclusions. Class acts all around. Good job for her outing her behavior to stop her. But if the best revenge is living well, then OP's already won that game by being a decent person who surrounds himself with other decent people. That woman needs help, but it's not OP's job to get it for her." Our next story is, finally found a culprit for some nonsense. A couple of neighbors have been jamming coins into the access doors of my apartment building. I've been in regular contact with management about it and gotten approval for posting a security camera on my patio. Finally got one of them on video actively compromising the front door's latch. I'll be sharing the footage with property management come Monday, but I wanted to give the guy at least one of his pennies back. Couldn't find any tape, so I sliced a delivery sticker that didn't rip up the packaging it was attached to instead. The first one I found read "curbside pickup," so I used that to stick his penny back onto his apartment door. I plan to sit down with management either over the weekend or on Monday to report. They have been clear that they will address this issue if I can provide solid evidence, and I finally have some. I'm just glad I was able to give the guy his penny back. He clearly needs it more than I do. So if I'm understanding this correctly, they're basically jamming these coins into the access doors to prevent them from being able to close fully. So like most apartment buildings that have an actual lock that you have to enter a code or get buzzed in for, they're essentially making sure that any stranger can get right into the building. I feel like for the sake of everybody in there that wants at least a sliver of peace of mind, OP's obviously doing a great thing. Unskilled Knight wrote, "Had a broken front door at a place I once lived with my family. Neighbors accused my brother of stealing their bike. Other neighbor came down and said, 'Should I mention the broken front door to the police once they arrive?' They left without saying a word because their son broke the front door, giving everyone access to the house and basement where they stored the bike without locking it properly. The lock on that door was crap, and that's why they always jam the pin down so you can just give it a slight push to open. At some point, the door jammed itself, and even with the pin in the correct position, you just needed to give it a slightly harder push. Their son literally kicked the door open half the time he got home. That did not magically fix the door. From what I remember, it took me like 5 to 20 tries to get it open with my key once winter started." OP responded saying, "Some guests to our building expect the door to be compromised and get crappy when they discover they need to actually be let in. I've lost count of how many people I've told, 'I'm not letting you in because I've never seen you before.' Glad to hear your other neighbor called the bull crap. It's amazing how fast people can change their tune. I would have probably tossed out maybe an ambulance too for that whiplash." This next story is Know Your Injury Law. I worked as the lumber opener at Home Depot. The night crew ended their shift an hour later after I arrived. Every day, I would see the crew preparing products, except for one guy. He was always sweeping between the aisles or mopping, which seemed out of place as we contracted with a janitorial service. I decided to ask how and why he was assigned this work. This is his story. The guy was hired as part of the overnight shift. One evening, he was injured. The injury wasn't serious, but not minuscule. Due to the larger turnover of employees, the supervisor inquired if the guy could stay until the shift ended due to the large amount of tasks requiring completion. The guy agreed and completed the shift. A few days later, the guy was at a family reunion. He shared the story with relatives, including his uncle, who's a lawyer. Even though his uncle did not specialize in work injuries, the uncle was aware that the shift manager was required to send the guy home immediately, and asking him to stay was illegal. The uncle explained the reason for such laws and offered to represent the guy for free. These cases are frequently addressed by a settlement rather than court. With initial hesitation, the guy agreed. The result was a settlement. I inquired as the amount which the guy could not provide due to signing an NDA, but did confirm the amount was higher than most assumed. I repeated the original question with more emphasis. Why was this guy still working at Home Depot? He smiled and answered, as long as he arrived to work and completed his tasks, Home Depot could not fire him. His uncle had said to immediately contact if the job was terminated, as another lawsuit would occur. The termination easily could be viewed as retribution to the settlement. Home Depot slowly lessened the guy's hours and assigned menial tasks as they anticipated the guy's patience would end. The guy informed that he didn't need the job anymore and finally had the money to attend college due to the settlement. However, in the months prior to college beginning, he would continue to work at Home Depot because his refusal to quit enraged the management and company. I laughed and thought, this guy is a legend. I mean, certainly it helps to know your injury law, but I think it certainly helps more, and especially in this story, that your uncle is a lawyer. So like, sure, know your rights, know the injury law and whatnot, but I guess if you can help it, have free legal counsel as well. Slayer Chick wrote, something like that happened when I was working at McDonald's in high school. Was taking fries out of the fryer and someone bumped me, pushing my arm onto the basket. Had a 3-inch long second-degree burn, basically blistered right away. I asked if I could go home and they asked me to stay because it was rush hour. Unfortunately, I didn't know my rights or have a lawyer relative, so all I got was a scar. Our next story is, X hijacks my Spotify. My ex has an Echo Dot in the preschool classroom where she works that she kept when we separated. The Echo Dot is linked to my Amazon account and my Spotify. She had agreed when we initially split to pay for the Spotify and Amazon subscription, and we would share them and I'd pay for other subscriptions. Out of the blue, about a month ago, she decided to get a new debit card, which meant everything went to my card that was on file for several things. This hit me with about $70 of various subscriptions unbeknownst to me until my card got rejected and I checked my account. Fast forward to today after changing various passwords when I started paying for these myself. I used Google to play some music on Spotify today and it played for about 5 seconds, then stopped. What? I thought I told it to start a song. Again, it stops. What is going on? Pull up my phone and then it sets in, music is playing on so-and-so's classroom speaker. Ah, so she's still using my account even though she's refusing to pay for her portion? I mean, I could just deauthorize the speaker, but what fun would that be? And I don't want to punish the kids in her class because she's an uber witch. Then the idea clicks. I log into my Alexa app and boom, idea can be executed. I enable kids mode on the speaker and lock it to my 4-year-old daughter's age restrictions. This allows the kids music, but will filter anything explicit. She likes to listen to rap music with explicit lyrics when the kids are sleeping and other times when the boss isn't around to hear things. Man, this is really like a pulling on heartstrings test here, because I feel like most people in that situation are going to want to immediately deauthorize that speaker, cut them off from using your Spotify, but at the same time there is definitely a part of you that probably feels like, am I taking the music away from the kids right now? Prestigious Moose 345 wrote, how sweet of you to make sure the kiddos don't lose their music. A very considerate form of petty revenge, laser focused with no collateral damage. Our next story is The Legend of Limbo Jimbo. I've been out of high school for over a decade, and people still talk about the legend of Limbo Jimbo. So I figured I'd share it here where I know it'll be appreciated. At the time of this story, I, 18 at the time, was a senior, and my brother Jimbo, 16 at the time, was a sophomore. My brother has always had a unique sense of style and to this day consistently rocks a brand of sweatpants overalls called Swoveralls. Back in high school, his favorite look was to have one long sweatshirt string and one short one. Sometimes in the hallway, one of his friends would grab the long sweatshirt string and they would play limbo with people going to class. Students and teachers loved it and they still managed to get to class before the bell. One day, the principal, who was in her first year as principal and on a power trip, walked up to them and told them to go to her office. Once there, she told them they were in trouble for bullying. Alleged they made 2 students cry, blocking the hallway, and otherwise being delinquent. They explained that even teachers participated, and if anyone asked them to move, they would have done so happily. She didn't care and gave each of them a week of detention. Here comes the revenge. Someone made a group on Facebook, Free Limbo Jimbo. From the Facebook group, which garnered nearly 200 members in less than 12 hours, a plan emerged. The following morning, everyone was to gather outside the school for one thing. The one thing that could bring us all together, a limbo protest. We stood outside for all of homeroom and first period. Posters were decorated, shirts were made, students chanted, "Free Limbo Jimbo! Free Limbo Jimbo!" When the second period bell rang, we took to action. A large speaker played the limbo song as nearly 200 students limboed into our school one by one. Our principal was furious. She tried to take down names for detention, but there were too many of us. When the last bell rang that day, my brother, myself, and about 20 other students walked to the detention room to pay our debt to society. The detention supervisor took one look at all of us and said, "I marked you as unattended. If you run, you might still catch the bus." And there you have it. Today I dug out my old limbo shirt and happily wore it to commemorate the greatest protest in all Northwestern New Jersey Regional High School history, Finn. Now this is a cause I can get behind. Or should I say, get under. Allfather Odin wrote, "Holy crap, one pair of plain swoveralls is $150. What a freaking ripoff. I actually decided that I might want to try a pair, expecting them to be $30 to $40. Now I'm thinking, who wastes money on these? Even if I was deathly in love with this style, I would never pay that insane price. That company needs to go under, or there needs to be another to pick up the slack." Luckily, it seems Amazon has generic versions for the proper $35 price they should be. Our next story is tweens ignoring the rules, being disrespectful and breaking equipment? No wonder I never found those Pokemon you accidentally left behind. So back when I was at one of my first jobs, Pokemon were new to the world. I worked at a now defunct indoor amusement park and arcade that had a couple names, but was closely associated with a movie theater chain that rhymes with Beagle Cinemas. Part of the deal, as you can imagine, is dealing with kids close to my own age being the primary customer running amok. School year was fine. Summer is when the mega summer camp chain in the area would almost buy us out and send up to 5,000 middle schoolers with high schooler counselors to play for the day. The girls were easy, they just fought about whether Backstreet Boys or NSYNC was hotter. Sometimes one would mention 98 Degrees, which was the only thing the other groups could unite against. The boys were all about causing problems and Pokemon, usually simultaneously. I liked working a particular miniature bowling game. It was an easy gig, and being in charge meant I got to walk on the lanes themselves and get to decide how much wax to apply. However much let me slide risky business style the whole length of the lane. Now, it was separated from the arcade area by just a basic metal fence, about waist level, similar to any typical railing you might see. Entrance was at one end of it. Kids would come in, and instead of bowling, they would screw around and cause massive backups in the line because 20 minutes later they're still in the first frame. The boys would sit and trade, play, or whatever Pokemon across the railing instead of playing. Then some butthead would decide to overhand throw the ball, bigger than a skee ball, smaller than a bowling ball, at the pins. Or they would decide to throw all the balls at the same time. This would all screw up the machine, which meant I had to go in to fix it in the back while dodging machinery and balls in other lanes. Plus, they usually threw more balls once they saw me working on their lane. Well, I decided that the lost and found policy no longer applied to those mini bowling lanes, unless you were nice. This included those precious Pokemon cards. Kids would later come back later in the day trying to figure out where they dropped their card, and I would play dumb. I would tell them with a straight face that they didn't leave anything behind. Truth is, the cards were turned into confetti and dumped in the trash next to the kiosk I was standing at when they came to me. I shredded cards worth several times my weekly pay just to get my petty revenge on those little idiots. Now, to be fair, I was never too into actually collecting Pokemon cards, but I fully recognized that when I was a little kid, Pokemon cards were awesome, and I feel like OP's last sentence is almost sacrilegious. How can you not pocket and try to flip something instead of just shredding something that's worth more than your weekly paycheck? Ugly Girl Doll wrote, "As someone who was heavily into Pokemon as a child, I approve of this. Well played, friend." This next story is one of fully formatted bug report. I hear you. I'm a software development engineer in test. We have a special tool for our QA purposes, supported by a certain team. They made a chat for us to be able to quickly report any problems. One day, that tool crashed each time I opened a test case. So I went to the chat and wrote something like, "Guys, the tool returns 500 error when trying to open cases." Head of QA seemingly had a bad day because he got ticked and snapped, "Are you a tester or what? Can't you read? We discussed time and time again that a normal bug report with all the info about project, browser version, expected result should be submitted about the tool." Was a bit rude there. Error 500 is a server error. Browser doesn't have anything to do with it, and I'm really good at what I do, so I apologized and provided said information, but held a grudge. Now anything at all that I submit to him has a perfect bug reporting formatting. Which dates should I ick for a work trip? Bug report. What KPI is expected next month? Bug report. My latest example, title, "My name hasn't been promoted as promised." Steps to reproduce, open my name personal info, including the link. Look at position part. Result, no senior written anywhere. Expected result, senior engineer, because, and then my reasoning why I should be promoted. Additional info, salary is expected to change along with position. He's generally a good and decent person, so he laughs and tells me that he doesn't expect a bug report for non-software problems, but it's actually a nice way to collect my thoughts before asking for help with something, so I'm sticking to it. Got that promotion. Starting next month, I'm at the senior position. Yay! I mean, just to play devil's advocate, even if something does have an error code that implies there's a server issue, does that 100% guarantee that there's not something on your machine or your browser that somehow is misconfiguring things or going wonky? I mean, is it fair to say that in the history of all tech problems, it can be possible that there's some user-side error that's going on that presents itself as something that's not a user-side error? Bemteb wrote, "To be fair, just because you get a 500 doesn't mean that it's not because of your browser or similar whatever reasons. Some developers use 500 as a default for something went wrong but I don't know what. Others don't have proper error codes, but instead uses the same for all. A JSON with more information might be attached if you're lucky. In 50% of cases, the JSON reads, error, see server logs for details." OP responded saying, "True, but it's a bug in itself. However, I'm not testing that tool, so won't localize it. I'm that ticked off customer who just needs it to work in this case." Our next story is how it used Sid Vicious to get rid of an arrogant coworker. Many years ago, I worked in an office as a 20-year-old. We were all friendly with each other until we had a temporary worker who thought she was better than any of us. Let's call her N. She especially dislikes me and constantly told me I was just a stupid farm girl because I came from a small village in the rural part of our country. She was constantly giving me little pinpricks of nasty comments. I wasn't as pretty as her, I was stupid, and especially about my voice, which was too deep for a girl, and please don't sing, it's terrible. At least with the latter, she was right. We always listened to the radio, and one time there was the song of Johnny Rotten, "This Is Not a Love Song." By the way, as a 15 to 16-year-old, I loved punk and the Sex Pistols, so I was joining in with the song very loud, so N started to shout at me to be silent, because she hated this kind of music, and she could see why I would like it. So she just gave me a way to annoy her without being too obvious. So every time she turned off the radio, which she did very often, I started to hum and then started to sing "This Is Not a Love Song," and a couple of my colleagues started to join in. It took us about 2 weeks until she angrily explained that she couldn't work in such an unruly place. Now, I completely understand if somebody's voice annoys you or you don't want to hear them singing, but in general, if you work in an office that allows you to sing music out loud, especially your colleagues all joining in singing a song together, it doesn't really sound like all that bad of a place to me. I mean, how crazy and unruly. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another awesome revenge story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out that video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.